of, and so on, signed by David Baker. Let me see what okay. Proclamation in the city of Kenmore, Washington, National Bike to Work Day, May 15th, 2015. Whereas bicycles are part of a sustainable multimodal transportation system and are a healthy, viable, and environmentally sound transportation alternative, as well as an excellent tool for recreation and enjoyment of Kenmore's scenic beauty. And whereas throughout the month of May, millions of Washingtonians will experience the joys of bicycling through educational programs, races, community events, trail work days, helmet promotions, charity events, or by simply getting out and going for a ride as part of National Bike Month. And whereas Kenmore's road and trail system with newly added bike lanes attract bicyclists each year, providing economic, health, transportation, tourism, and scenic benefits. And whereas creating a bicycle-friendly community has been shown to improve Washingtonians' health, well-being, and quality of life, growing the economy of Kenmore, attracting tourism dollars, improving traffic safety, supporting student learning outcomes, and reducing pollution, congestion, wear and tear on our streets and roads. And whereas the city of Kenmore, Washington Bikes, Cascade Bicycle Club, League of American Bicyclists, and other businesses and civic organizations will be promoting bicycling during the month of May 2015, and whereas May has been declared National Bike Month for each of the last 59 years, and so again in 2015, and whereas Bike to Work Day is an annual event across the United States and Canada that promotes the bicycle as an option for commuting to work. And whereas the City of Kenmore is also promoting greater public awareness of bicycle operation and safety education through the Target Zero initiative in an effort to eliminate collisions, injuries, and fatalities and improve the health and safety of everyone on the road. Now, therefore, I, acting for David Baker, Mayor, on behalf of the City Council of Kenmore, Washington, do hereby proclaim May 15th, 2015 as Bike to Work Day in the City of Kenmore, Washington. We urge all citizens who support bicycling to bike to work on that day, and further urge all road users to share the road safely with the bicyclists at all times. Yeah. Do you think it's worthwhile doing it now? Yeah. I'll do it again. City of Kenmore, Washington, proclamation, Kids to Parks Day. Whereas Saturday, May 16th, 2015 is the 5th National Kids to Parks Day, organized and launched by the National Park Trust. And whereas Kids to Parks Day empower kids and encourages families to get outdoors and visit America's parks. And whereas it's important to introduce a new generation to our national parks because of the decline in park attendance over the last decades, and whereas we should encourage children to lead more active lifestyles to combat the issues of childhood obesity, diabetes mellitus, hypertension, and hypercholesterolemia. And whereas Kids to Parks Day is open to all children and adults across the country to encourage a large and diverse group of participants. And whereas Kids to Parks Day will broaden children's appreciation for nature and the outdoors. And whereas the City of Kenmore has been recognized by the national nonprofit organization Kaboom as a Playful City USA community, and has recently been honored by the National League of Cities for earning gold medals in all five Let's Move cities, towns, and counties goal areas. And whereas the City of Kenmore features spectacular local and state parks in the Burke-Gilman Trail, including a new waterfront activity center at Squires Landing. Now, therefore, I, acting for David Baker, Mayor of the City of Kenmore, Washington, on behalf of the City Council, am pleased to proclaim May 16th, 2015 to be Kids to Parks Day in the City of Kenmore, and urge residents of Kenmore to make time on May 16th to take the children in their lives to a neighborhood, state, or national park. And the fourth proclamation is Kenmore Safe Boating Week, May 16th to 22nd. And we have members of the Coast Guard Auxiliary here. Coast Guard? Yes? Great. Whereas on average, 700 people die each year in boating-related accidents in the U.S., with the vast majority of those accidents caused by human error and poor judgment and not by the boat, equipment, or environmental factors. And whereas a significant number of boaters who lose their lives by drowning each year would be alive today had they worn their life jackets. And whereas a city of Kenmore is bounded by 7.8 miles of shoreline along Lake Washington, the Sammamish River, and Swamp Creek, and whereas a large number of Kenmore residents of all ages engage in recreational boating, and whereas the mission of the United States Coast Guard Auxiliary Flotilla 21, located in the North Shore area, is to promote and improve recreational boating safety by teaching boating safety courses and conducting vessel safety checks. Now, therefore, I, acting for David Baker, Mayor of the City of Kenmore, Washington, on behalf of the City Council, proclaims the May 16th to 22nd, 2015, to be Kenmore Safe Boating Week in our community, and we encourage all members, all Kenmore residents, to dedicate themselves to learning about practicing safe boating, including the wearing of life jackets. And with that, if the members of the Coast Guard could come forward and present this to them. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your service to the country. And I also was thinking about it at the time I was reading this, and then I think this came from Milton. Is that right? This little note. As I was reading this, I emphasized public servants in the cities, and I was thinking especially of the public servants we have in the city of Kenmore, who day in and day out do an admirable job in service of the citizens of Kenmore, and I thank them very much. Thank you. Now, something happened here. We did not have a flag salute. Nobody caught me on it. So let's do that quickly right now. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You didn't catch me on that, huh? Next item on the agenda is citizen comments. This is an opportunity to express your views on issues that are important to you and the community, to express those views to the City Council. And in fairness to others, please limit your comments to 3 minutes. And will the clerk please call the first person?
John Kropf.
My name is John Kropf from the Shoreline. I used to have a shop right here where we developed our product, maglevitation system, which we did in University of Montana. Now it's currently in NASA and in Israel is being built as a demonstration, 2 stations, and multiple air vehicles. And so I think it's about time that Kenmore gets recognized, that we perhaps can help you out with your transportation problem. I've heard of the president at one of the Sound Transit meetings where the mayor was really complaining about being not served by transportation. You have very, very, very bad. So in this little flyer that I had to find out, I covered the thing up so we would only look at the top part initially, and that was to show the breadth of what Lake City Way and your Bothell Way is so tremendously important to you. And immediately below that shows the Burke Gimlin Trail, and the arrows point to the various places that are very, very congested. So all the way down to the dotted line, you can see that there's it reaches all the way to Ballard through the Burke Gilman Trail. Now, if you go beyond that, you go all the way to Renton. If you follow on the 100th on the side, all the way to the bottom, there's a terrific opportunity in the long run for you to affect the transportation everywhere. Now, what I'm hoping you get across to you is in a little box, an idea that you can build without any outside money to come in, a demonstration site. You're going to need one over the trail right now. If you just look at the trail as being your really golden opportunity. So that would be a opportunity to get funding privately. I would donate to that. And your stores can have special coupon sales, and the people could ride this little thing at a price. And then, as I pointed out, in the TIFIA loan system, it's based on how much revenue is received. So if you do it smart, I think you can do it. You can have this demonstration site that everybody in the world will want to come and try it out. It's currently in Israel right now. Will be completed this year, a 2-station system. And NASA loves us down there. We moved from Kenmore to NASA, Ames, old Navy Moffett Field. I'm an old naval aviator, and that's kind of almost home to us, because that's where the real things are being done now today. Thank you very much for the opportunity to talk to you. I'd love to give you a PowerPoint presentation. Yes, sir.
Excuse me, Mr. Kropp. Could you pronounce your name again for me and give us your address?
John Kropp. This old German told me one time it's Krupp, but that's not the way I'd go by Kropp. K-R-O-P-F. K-R-O-P-F, right.
F, Kropp, okay. And could you state your address for the record, please?
Okay, it's 350 North 190th Street, apartment number C, 623, Shoreline, Washington. That's an old folks home up there.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
There's no one else signed up.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak to the council? Anyone else who would like to speak to the council? Last call. Anybody else like to speak to the council? Okay, move on. The consent agenda. Are there any objections to the? Oh,
Take a voice vote.
You have to take a vote.
just
Take a voice vote.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All in favor of the consent agenda as proposed, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. Next thing on the agenda is a public hearing regarding the motion to allow indoor storage as a temporary use for up to 1 year period in the property located at 150 36 70th Avenue Northeast. Assistant City Manager Nancy Owsley and Development Services Director Brian Hampson.
Good morning, Council. Thanks for considering this. This is in consideration for the old fire station up off of 70th Avenue. They are interested in leasing that building to a business that would use it for indoor storage. Currently, the indoor storage isn't an outright permitted use for that zone, which is a public and semi-public zone. So another mechanism to be able to allow it is through a temporary use permit. However, temporary use permits are only good for 90 days out of the code for the first 90 days. Anything over 90 days requires a public hearing and a council motion and approval. And so that's what we are here today to discuss with you.
The fire district has conditionally approved a lease with Michael Klebeck, and that name may be familiar to you because the city has leased space in Kenmore Village for the last 2 or 3 years to Michael for indoor storage. And so we brought similar proposals to the council in 2013, 2014 for allowing indoor storage on a temporary basis for that Kenmore Village space that he has leased. And obviously, he's not able to stay in the space where he is now because of the sale and redevelopment of the property. He has been a very reliable tenant, and he is frankly a business person that we would like to keep having some sort of a presence in Kenmore. And the district and the city have discussed conditions, given the fact that this is close to a residential neighborhood, and so those are outlined in the agenda bill. Obviously, storage would be the only permitted. Indoor storage would be permitted only, as opposed to outdoor. No alcohol or any other hazardous material would be stored. The building will be equipped with a monitored alarm system. The grounds will be maintained at the current level of care. And the visits to the site for picking up or dropping off the materials that are stored would be infrequent, maybe once a week, and limited to daytime hours. And the Chief Torpin is available for questions if the council has them, either now or when the motion is before you.
Councilmember Sperry.
Thank you. I don't know if this would be more appropriate for the chief. Has there been any concerns raised by neighbors or anything?
So part of this process, the city asked me to go up and touch base with the residents that live adjacent to the station, and I did go up a week ago or so, and I made contact with 3 individuals that live adjacent, and then I left an informational flyer with my business card at all of the, I think, 12 residents that kind of surround that station. The 3 people that I talked to didn't seem to have an opinion either way. They were curious about what we were going to do. They had all heard that the YMCA had terminated its lease, so they were curious what we were going to do. And I explained to them that we're in the process of trying to decide long-term whether or not we need that facility. And right now, with a lot of different things going on with the fire district, we're not prepared to make a long-term decision to sell it. So nobody objected. Nobody has contacted me since I left that flyer.
Well, that really answers the question, doesn't it? Thank you.
Yeah.
There being no further questions, I now call the public hearing, declare the public hearing open. Will the clerk please call the first person?
Oh my gosh, I didn't put a sign-up sheet out, I'm sorry. Does anyone want to speak?
Does anybody want to speak to this topic? Anybody want to speak to the council on this topic? Okay, in that case, I declare the public hearing closed. So I thank the two of you very much for the public hearing discussion. Now we'll move on to the business agenda, and the first item on the business agenda is a motion to allow indoor storage as temporary use for up to 1 year period in the property located at 15036 70th Avenue Northeast, which is owned by the North Shore Fire District and zoned public, semi-public, subject to conditions. Nancy Owsley, Assistant City Manager.
I was just happy to answer any other questions that the council may have.
Okay, do I hear a motion to the effect? Yeah, Councilmember Smith, second. Who seconded? Councilmember Curtis. Will the clerk please take the vote?
Sorry. Councilmember Sperry?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Danuski?
Yes.
Councilmember Herbig?
Yes.
Councilmember Curtis?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Van Ness?
Yes.
6-0.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next item is a discussion of Astound franchise ordinance number 15-0397. Ms. Jennifer Gordon, Public Works Operations Manager.
Patty, can you turn the projector on? Good evening, Deputy Mayor and Council. I'm going to introduce you to not Fred Miller, because Fred Miller is not here tonight, but Vic Peterson is here to do a presentation for the Astound Broadband DBA Wave franchise agreement. So with that, it's all yours, Vic.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me this evening. My name is Vic Peterson. I'm the Vice President of Major Project Implementation for Wave Broadband. Who is Wave? Wave is a division or a wholly owned subsidiary of Astound Broadband. Astound has acquired over the years 15 to 20 corporations, growing our fiber optic network in the Northwest, which includes Washington, Oregon, and Northern California. We've acquired local companies BlackRock Cable, Spectrum Networks, and Condo Internet to further our goals here in the Northwest. What are we? We're primarily a cable television company that started 12 years ago in this area, and we are growing to be a very robust new fiber optic network in the Pacific Northwest. We are looking to increase bandwidth for our customers throughout the Northwest, including Kenmore. Where we're going to start our services within Kenmore is a very small build on 84th Avenue Northeast, just north of 145th, and I've got maps a little bit farther into the presentation to show this. It's taking fiber to an existing cellular tower that will help the cellular providers on that tower increase their bandwidth that is served from that area. When is our work starting? We are actually out performing our field work and permitting efforts now, submitting applications to Puget Sound Energy to hang cable on their poles in the area. And as soon as we have applications and obviously all appropriate franchises and approvals from jurisdictions, including Kenmore, we'll go out and do that work. So that should be probably midsummer is when we actually will be ready to go to work. We are really a small business success story. 12 years ago, Wave Broadband was a gentleman in his Honda Civic in downtown Seattle and LaConner building a fiber optic network to serve cable TV customers. 12 years later, we are almost 1,200 employees strong, and we have networks in Washington, Oregon, and Northern California, and we are building a heck of a lot more over the next few years. Literally thousands of miles of fiber that we'll be building over the next few years in the area. We have cable, internet, telephone, fiber networks. We serve over 500,000 cable customers in Washington, Oregon, and California. A couple of years ago, we raised $1.3 billion in venture capital money to grow our network and grow the company. We've been growing our company through acquisitions and hiring experts in the field that know how to build fiber networks and perform networking activities. Our primary customer right now are cell carriers. That's kind of where the industry is going, is providing fiber optic cable and services to cellular towers, existing towers. We don't build towers. We bring fiber to the towers that are there, and the customers and large carriers that are on those towers are able to add equipment to that tower and increase their bandwidth. Everybody's bandwidth is increasing exponentially every year with all the devices that we have in our homes, all the wireless services we have. It's an unsatiable appetite for bandwidth. Initially, we're designing 2 existing cell towers, but we are putting up large count cable to provide services to local governments, schools, public safety, healthcare, major employers, and the tech industry. We have an organic growth model. We have a very active sales department that is headquartered in Kirkland and is all over the area talking to customers. We are actually speaking with potential customers in this area of town of Kenmore right now to hopefully bring our services to them in the very near future. The advantages are, the services that we provide, we'll provide our customers anything from dark fiber, where we literally give them the fiber, and then they put the equipment that they want on it, and they manage that equipment themselves. Gives the customer a great deal of flexibility in how they manage their own bandwidth. We do lit services up to extremely high bandwidth, 10 gig and 100 gig capacities to customers as needed. We are not considering expanding our residential services in this area at this point. That is always open for discussion later, and that would require a different type of franchise. This franchise is for telecommunications networking. This is a map of our current network that we have in the Northwest in Washington. As you can see, it rings Lake Washington, goes up north to the Canadian border and out on the peninsula. This map is the new network that we're looking to build just in Washington. It's about 1,500 miles of new network that we'll be constructing, tying it into our existing network, as well as adding new network to provide ringed capability to customers throughout the area. This map shows the current network that we have within Kenmore, which is a leased fiber network. We lease a few fibers from another carrier in the city. It passes through. We don't have service drops off of that network. So we are looking to build a new network, and you can see the little triangle that says existing cell tower. That's our current customer that we'll be providing services to, and then we'll be extending that network to the north and east. And then as we get new customers, we'll bring fiber into other parts of town as well. Franchise we look at as a partnership. We're a local company headquartered in Kirkland. We've always been headquartered in Kirkland. We want to serve our community very well and bring bandwidth to the community. The franchise will allow access to your rights of way to provide those services. We are primarily going to be attaching to existing power poles with PSE. We'll go underground when we have to. The cost of construction to go underground is considerably more, so we prefer to be on existing poles where possible. Per state and federal law, utility taxes are paid based on the services provided within the city. And construction permits are obviously required anytime we do work within the city. We like to build friendly relationships with jurisdictions and work as partners. We don't want to come in and tear up the streets or anger the people in the cities that we're trying to make customers. So we like to work very well with the folks that we're working around. I think this franchise is an initial 10-year term with renewing 5-year terms. Why are we doing this? The initial benefit to the citizens of Kenmore is going to be to improve their cellular services. Every major cell carrier is our customer. So if the carrier has a presence on the towers where we bring fiber, They can lease our fiber to increase their bandwidth and increase the services to the area. We also offer advanced networking for businesses in Kenmore. We like to look at fiber as the railroad or the paved highways of the past. This fiber, once it's in, can connect businesses anywhere in the world through the Weston building and down in Portland to every major carrier, every internet provider that is out there. It gives an economic development to the area, we believe. We are competition for other carriers that may already be in Kenmore that will ultimately drive pricing down for businesses in the area. Telecommuting jobs, call centers, high-tech businesses that are throughout this area, they all need fiber. They all want that bandwidth, and they all need more of it. Excuse me. And we look at fiber as a critical economic development resource. Pardon me. And that's my presentation. I'd like to answer any questions the council may have.
Councilmember Herbig.
You see on your map that you're crossing over the Sammamish River at 83rd. Where does cable go across the Sammamish River there?
I think that's the existing network that we lease. And I'm not sure if that's aerial or if that was a directional bore.
Well, there's nothing aerial. I was just looking at Google Maps. I didn't see anything over there. I thought maybe there's a footbridge you guys were under or something.
It may be a directional bore that was done under the river. I'm not sure of what the existing network there looks like.
Okay. Thanks.
I'm looking at the map that's on page 97 that goes across the Sammamish River, and I thought that was the new route that you're taking.
Let me look.
The vertical north-south route? That blue?
It's covered, the blue is covered
right
with
here.
green. Looks like there's already...
Oh, I got you. Okay.
There is existing network there, and that network, if we do add new network right there, the plan is an aerial run, but this was done at a very high-level view. If the aerial run is not available for us, then we would have to either bore the river or attach to the bridge.
Okay. I was looking at this map in our packet that just has the blue and not the green.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Councilmember Sperry?
Thank you. This is actually more of a general question regarding the type of service you provide. We obviously have a university within our city limits, and is that the type of customer sometime that you provide to, or?
Yes, ma'am. We provide services to a number of public school districts now, and always looking to increase that to universities and other schools all over the place.
Thank you.
Okay, it's my understanding that you aren't asking for any action from the council tonight. This is informative.
That's correct.
And
This has
next
to touch
Monday?
2 meetings, so we're here for a presentation tonight, and we'll be back next week for the adoption.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for coming. It was helpful.
Thank you.
The third item of business is to authorize the city manager to execute contract number 15-C1365 with Grindline for skate court construction. Mrs. Debbie Bent, Community Development Director, and Mark Connolly, Parks Project Manager.
Good evening. We also have Scott Rosenstock here, who is with Hewitt Architects, who work with the city on the design for this facility. So as stated by Deputy Mayor Van Ness, we're here to ask Council to authorise the contract for construction of the skate court. If you recall, we went through a very strong public outreach process. We had a successful bid, which came in below the estimate. And we would like Council to authorise that contract with Grindline. We're also recommending that you include in the base bid alternate 1, which is for a type of fence which is more, I guess, aesthetically pleasing given its location. So if council decides to go that route, it would also require a small appropriation, an additional increase in the budget of about $1,100 to cover the cost of including that alternate. So that's kind of the outline of what we're asking, and Mark and Scott are here to answer any specific questions you may have about the skate court design or the contractor or the bid process.
Yeah, I'm in favor of the upgraded fence, especially once Mark told me he's not going to use the picture with the pointy things at the top.
Yes, no pointy fences.
Councilmember Sperry?
First of all, it looks great. It's very exciting. I showed it to a family member who does skating, and she was so excited. And she said, the only bowl is like incarnation, and so I think it's going to be well received. I do have one question. EcoTurf, what is that? Oh, yes.
EcoTurf is a fescue blend.
Okay, so it is actual grass.
So it's, thinner blades. I think in this application, it made a lot of sense with the city's lead designation. It requires a lot less water once it gets established.
Okay.
It's pretty hardy, and you can treat it like normal turf. You can mow if you want to. You can let it grow a little bit longer if you'd like to, as well.
So on the, I guess it says attachment 1. It says exhibit 1, and it's just kind of the bird's eye view of the Jack Crawford skate court plan, and it looks like it's ringed with grass, the EcoTurf. So is that what we're getting? Is it going to have that much grass, or is that an additional? I like grass.
No, I understand. I think what you're looking there is a pretty picture.
Yes, I'm looking at the pretty picture.
To make a 3D rendering kind of pop out a little bit. Ringing the skate court is basically a planter bed with a variety of different plants and shrubs, and Scott could certainly go into some detail as to exactly what those are, but the intent there is recognizing that this is another one of City Hall's front doors.
Sure.
And that the intent there is to make it a real physically attractive entrance at that location. That's another. If you look at all three of those alternatives, really they're largely cosmetic for that purpose.
So
the grass, or the turf, the EcoTurf is primarily located on the mound that's right behind the, talking like a skater, a taco, located in the the upper left-hand corner of that 3D rendering.
Where people can kind of sit.
They can sit, or they can walk up to the the taco and then drop down into it.
I don't really know what a taco is in skating terms.
It kind of looks like a taco shell. It's kind of like a little wedge.
Oh, I see it now. Okay.
That's where that brown
I see it now.
piece is. And then the last alternate was basically to do the same treatment out there with the remaining gray gravel area. That would then be turf as well.
So right now that's just going to stay gravel, even
Correct.
with the landscaping?
Mm-hmm.
Is the fence going to be on the outside of that or the inside of that?
It'll be on the inside of that.
So the gravel, it'll be sidewalk, gravel, fence,
Correct.
and landscaping. Okay.
And the nice thing about this skate court too is we're not fencing the entire skate court. We're basically providing fencing as a kind of a safety barrier for boards. Make sure they don't go out on the street, and make sure that they don't fly off into the cars in the parking lot. But by and large, the skate court is intended to be open and friendly to the users, not only for use, but also to be able to watch the activities that occur there.
Okay.
Are there any other questions? The decorative fencing is planned to be like in this picture on this upper right side, Exhibit 2?
Without the little pointy ends. I do have
the pointy ends will keep the skaters off the top of it, though.
Well, they're going to be, they're low enough so you can see over, but they're tall enough where if you're generally going to be there, you're going to lean up against them. But it's primarily a safety issue based on where the skate court is located. And I do have pictures that I can hand out to all of you to give you a little bit better idea what a fence looks without the little pointy skewers on the top, if you'd like.
Okay. If you could do that, please. If there, well, let's look at these pictures first and see if there are any other questions. Oh, okay.
Deputy Mayor, I do have one question.
Councilmember Smith?
As far as durability on this, so obviously chain link has give and take, so there's some flexibility there. If a skateboard hits it, it's going to give, not break. Will this get chipped or bent or anything if skateboards hit it?
We researched different fencing alternatives outside of the chain link option. We reached out to this manufacturer, Ameristar, who makes this type of fence, and this is their heaviest duty industrial size fence.
Okay.
So the pickets and the rails and everything are what they recommended for this type of application. They make residential grade fencing, and we shied away from that, and we went with the heaviest duty possible.
Great, thank you.
Question.
Any further questions? Do I hear a motion to authorize the city manager to execute contract number 15-C1356 with Grindline for the skate cart construction?
So moved. Second, whatever.
It was moved by Councilmember Herbig and seconded by Councilmember Smith. Are there any discussion?
I'm not positive, but I thought I heard you say C1356, and it should be 65.
I don't know. I'm reading what the clerk wrote for me here.
It is
6.5.
6.5.
Yeah. Thank you. That's 15C1365. Councilmember Sperry?
Just a clarification. I support the motion. So this motion that we is on the table now, the amount is $273. 169.04 cents. So that is including the alternate one, correct? Or not?
That's correct.
That is correct. Okay. Great. Mm-hmm.
Any further discussion? Will the clerk, Councilmember Curtis?
Did we figure out how to come up with the extra money? Or we just give it and then we figure it out later?
I will let the city manager address that.
I recommend that since the project still has a contingency in it, we take a wait and see approach.
Okay, thank you.
Any further comments, questions? Okay, will the clerk please take the roll?
Deputy Mayor Van Ness?
Yes.
Councilmember Sperry?
Yes.
Councilmember Herbig?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Danuski?
Yes.
Councilmember Curtis?
Yes.
6-0.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now that this is passed by the council, when do we get started?
Good question. May 25th, we have, if you were planning on a pre-construction meeting with the contractor, we hope to break ground on June 1st with a mid-September completion date.
Okay, great.
So pray for a nice, dry summer and nothing underground that we didn't expect.
Yeah.
Nope,
Okay.
understand.
Well, the community's been waiting for this for a while. So
It'll
it's
be
great.
a lot. It'll be exciting.
Yeah. Thank you so
All right,
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is the staff report. City Manager Carlindsey.
Thank you, Your Honor. So I just got nothing but good news tonight. As you know, the Association of Washington Cities holds its annual statewide conference every June, and they're doing that again this year in Wenatchee. And as you may also know, they also hand out what they call Municipal Achievement Awards at the conference every June. And we've been fortunate enough to be the recipients of that municipal Excellence Award, I think is what it's called. for the last 2 years, which I'm told is the first time the city's ever done that, where one city has gotten the award 2 years in a row. Well, this year they had a kind of a new category under the Municipal Excellence Awards, and that is Cool City Hall. And so Nancy Owsley, our assistant city manager, submitted an application for that award, and lo and behold, the city got that award. So not only are we a two-peat, we are a three-peat city for that award. And so I'm assuming since we were the first to get a two-peat, we're the first to get a three-peat. So thank you, Nancy, for applying for that award, and thank you all, for those of you who were here at the time, for building such a cool city hall. We have several events coming up this week. On Thursday night, the Kenmore Waterfront Activities Center is putting on the Waterfront Activities Fair and demonstrations at our newly acquired Squires Landing Park. It goes from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. All sorts of hand-powered watercraft vessels and demonstrations will be happening there. If you recall, the similar event happened here at City Hall last year about this time. Well, they're actually having it on the water this time, which makes more sense. And we're going to have rowing shells, dragon boat, stand-up paddleboard, kayak canoe, and whatever else is hand-powered on the water. So pretty excited about that, and I'd like to thank Deborah Shrebnick for taking such a strong lead in organizing that event. And then we also have, as was mentioned earlier tonight, the Bike to Work Day proclamation, and we're having an after party on Bike to Work Day this Friday from 4 to 7 at the 192 right along the Burke-Gilman Trail, the Lakeside Tap Room. And it's a family-friendly event, and there'll be lots of activities and things going on there from 4 to 7. And lastly, on Saturday from 1 to 4, Kenmore Waterfront Activities Center is putting on Cub Scout Day. So Cub Scouts from all across the region are welcome to come and paddle for free. And they had Girl Scout Day last month. And that's all I have.
When is that, Cub Scout Day? Yeah.
This Saturday from 1 to 5 at Squires Landing.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Council member reports, comments, and initiatives.
You know what, Deputy Mayor, I forgot one very important thing. I can't believe I forgot it. So next council meeting on May 18th, we're going to have our new employees come and meet you in person. But one of our employees is still in the process of trying to get moved from his Texas location. He's started with us, but he can't make it next Monday night, so we've asked him to come tonight, and he's sitting in the back row. This is Brett Schock, our new traffic engineer. Brett, do you want to come up and, did you got your 30-minute speech prepared? Okay. And Chris, feel free to, I told Brett I think he was a needle in a haystack, given the mix of skills, soft and otherwise, that he has. So we're lucky and fortunate to have him, and I understand he's off to a good start.
Yeah, I'm very pleased to be here. I've been looking forward to finding a way to incorporate both engineering and planning, and that's something that this has given me a good opportunity to do. So I'm excited to see what's going on here. I've been getting used to the area, driving around, getting lost in all kinds of much smaller streets than I'm used to, but I'm very happy to be here and getting underway.
He's been doing a lot of cool things that his wife and son back in Texas are very envious of. So he's Hurricane Ridge this weekend.
Yes.
And
made it to the Pacific Coast, Ruby Beach.
Mount Rainier.
Yeah, spent 5 hours on Mount Rainier.
Mm-hmm. So Brett came up with his cat, and he will be in Texas next week selling his home. So, yeah. So yes, he is. It's almost 2 weeks that you've been here.
Yeah.
And he is already working on our annual traffic count program. He is working on traffic cars. He has already been working with the folks at Arrowhead Elementary for that signalized intersection, looking at safety ideas. We're just so thrilled he's here, and I agree with what Rob said. I think he is a needle in a haystack, and he already has reciprocity in Washington. He's a licensed engineer here, which is awesome. He is also a planner, and I tease him that as long as he's 51% engineer, we'll be just fine. No, and he actually came up to the APA conference last week. He met Andrew Bauer, and he thinks he passed Debbie in the hallway. But he actually moderated and spoke in a session about planners and engineers and coordinating. So I think that's pretty special.
Right.
Does anyone have any questions? New traffic engineer?
Not yet, but I'm sure we will.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to welcome you to the city of Kenmore from the council.
Thank you.
Where in Texas are you from?
I moved from Fort Worth. I'm originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Okay. Well, this isn't quite as flat a kind of state as Texas is. And I'm sure you're enjoying all the mountains and everything. So it's great to have you with us, and I look forward to working with you. So
thank you.
Welcome. Go on to council member reports and comments and initiatives. Council member Smith, we'll start with you.
I have nothing to add this evening. Thank you.
Council member Sperry.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. You might have seen a letter of interest from a youth library member, Valerie, I believe was her first name. And she was recruited by another board member, came to the meeting, just the nicest young lady. And she rattled off all the things she was involved in. And I said, could you please write a letter of interest? And she's like editor of the school paper and loves words and loves libraries and just wants to join the board. And so if people are up for it, what I would recommend is that we put it on a future agenda and just approve her at that time.
Is she a student at Inglemoor?
She is a student at Inglemoor. She's a junior.
Okay, so
yeah, she's
more than a
just
year. Okay.
What's that?
She's got another year left.
She does, yes. And I actually realized afterwards I need to double check what our bylaws say, if it's a 1-year appointment or a 2-year appointment. But I also thought too, if we put it on a future, like sometime this month or, June, we could also let her know, and she might want to just stop by so you could meet her too. It's hard to say. But
Do we have to take any action here tonight to get it on a future agenda?
No,
Nope.
I think we do it.
Everybody okay with that?
Mm-hmm.
Good.
And then one more library-related thing. Each year the library does an annual report and looking at how the library system is impacting the community. And they highlighted, I think it was 3 or 4 specific cities, and we were one of them. And what they wrote about was the job fair that the city and the library partnered on. And so it was a really nice write-up that went out. So.
Okay. Councilmember Curtis?
Nothing to add.
Councilmember Herbig?
Nothing to add.
Councilmember Danuski?
Rob covered most of the fun stuff going on this week, but there's also Kids to Park Day at St. Edward's Park this Saturday. So if you aren't Cub Scouting, you can go to St. Edward's, and they've got a bunch of activities. So.
Okay, very good. Okay, we attended an ETP meeting last Friday morning, and one of the key things that we voted to do was to sponsor and host a seminar symposium on technology in transportation in the future. There's a lot going on in the industry in automating and using technology to improve our transportation on the highways and all sorts of other ways. And this will be a symposium that hopefully we'll be holding in September. We just voted to start the initial preparations on it. This is something unusual for ETP. We've never done anything like this before, but we are expecting probably at least 300 participants at it, and maybe to be bigger than that, because it's a kind of a symposium, a presentation by experts in the field that should be of interest to anybody that has any interest in the future of transportation in the Northwest. So we're really excited about it. It's a challenge for little old ETP to pull off, but we voted unanimously to fund it and to get started with it. So I thought I'd pass that on. We also renewed the interlocal agreement with King County. And it was essentially unchanged from the previous one, but I just sort of report that we're still a member of ETP, and ETP is still has an interlocal agreement with King County. So I think that's all I have. We have our AWC meeting coming up next month over in Wenatchee, and if you can break away from what you normally do during the week and get over to that meeting, those are always great meetings to attend. Lodging is still tight over there, but I'm sure there are places to stay that may take a 5-minute, 10-minute drive to the convention center, but it should be a good meeting. So any of you that can make your way over there for that meeting, it would be worthwhile registering for. And with that, there being no further business before the council, this meeting is now adjourned.